In a federal courtroom, a corrupt anti-Trump judge, Marshall Davis, humiliates JD Vance, believing he is above the law. However, when Vance stands his ground, karma strikes swiftly, leaving the entire courtroom in stunned silence. But before we dive deeper, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. The day began like any other in the federal courthouse, but Judge Davis was in an especially foul mood. "No coffee in my courtroom," he barked at his clerk, causing her to flinch. "And tell the defense team that if they're not here in 2 minutes, I'll issue contempt charges." The packed gallery watched as Davis stormed to his bench, his face already flushed with irritation. Known for his harsh treatment, his behavior had recently become increasingly erratic, particularly in cases involving conservative figures. "Your Honor," the court clerk approached cautiously, "Vice President Vance has arrived for his testimony." Davis's expression darkened instantly. "Well, isn't that special?" he sneered, barely concealing his disdain. "Make sure he knows this isn't the Senate floor. His title means nothing here." The atmosphere shifted as JD Vance entered, moving with quiet dignity and nodding respectfully to the court staff. Davis watched him like a hawk, drumming his fingers impatiently on the bench. "Let's get something straight," Davis announced, his voice dripping with contempt. "I don't care what position you hold in Washington. In this courtroom, I am the law. Is that clear, Mr. Vance?" Vance's measured response only seemed to irritate Davis further. "Crystal clear, Your Honor. I'm here simply as a witness to the truth." "Truth?" Davis scoffed. "We'll see about that." His gaze shifted to the defense table. "Now let's get the circus started." Davis interrupted the defense attorney's opening statement. "I'm already tired of the political theatrics in my courtroom," he said, shooting a pointed look at Vance. "This isn't a campaign rally." Each time the attorney mentioned Sterling's community contributions, Davis cut him off with increasing hostility. "Irrelevant. Move on. I will warn you again." His gavel slammed down so often that the court reporter struggled to keep up. When it was time for Vance's testimony, Davis's behavior became even more erratic. "Stand up straight when you take the oath," he snapped, despite Vance's impeccable posture. "And speak clearly. I won't have any political doublespeak in my court." "Your Honor," Vance began calmly, "I can attest to Mr. Sterling's financial transparency regarding the Faith and Family Foundation." "Oh, here we go," Davis interrupted, rolling his eyes theatrically. The gallery stirred uncomfortably, even the prosecution looking uneasy at the judge's obvious bias. "Let me be clear," Davis leaned forward, his face reddening. "I've seen enough rich conservatives try to hide their money behind charitable facades. Your presence here doesn't impress me, Mr. Vice President. In fact, it makes me question the defendant's character even more." Vance remained composed, but something in his calm demeanor seemed to further enrage Davis. The judge's hands trembled slightly as he shuffled through his papers, his eyes darting nervously to specific documents on his desk. "I have here," Vance continued steadily, "documented evidence of Mr. Sterling's charitable contributions, including the March Foundation meetings. Those records are inadmissible," Davis practically shouted, though no objection had been raised. His reaction seemed oddly personal, almost panicked. "Your Honor," the defense attorney interjected. "On what grounds? Don't you dare question my rulings." Davis's face was now bright red. "One more word, and you'll be joining your client in contempt." The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably. This was beyond judicial discretion. It was starting to look like a personal vendetta. "Your Honor," Vance spoke up, his voice respectfully firm. "These documents were properly submitted during discovery." "Oh, were they?" Davis sneered. "And I suppose your fancy White House connections had nothing to do with that? Let me tell you something about your kind, Mr. Vice President. You think you can waltz into my courtroom with your political privilege and—" "Objection, Your Honor." The defense attorney found his courage. "This is completely inappropriate." "Silence," Davis roared, slamming his gavel so hard it echoed through the chamber. "I will not be lectured about appropriateness in my own court, especially not by some conservative puppet." "Your Honor," Vance interjected calmly, "perhaps we should discuss the specific contents of the March 15th meeting." Everyone turned to see a team of FBI agents making their way down the center aisle. "This court is now under federal investigation," the lead agent announced, his badge glinting under the courtroom lights. "Judge Marshall Davis, stay where you are. You can't do this," Davis shrieked, backing away from his bench. "I have immunity. I have connections. Do you know who I am? Oh, we know exactly who you are, Your Honor. The agent replied, his tone steady. Including your recent meetings with the Liberty Foundation, your offshore accounts, and your coordinated efforts to target conservative defendants. Davis's eyes darted wildly around the courtroom, searching for an escape. This is all a setup. A conservative plot. A plot. Vance interjected quietly. The only plot here is your systematic abuse of power, Your Honor. Every biased ruling, every backroom deal, every attempt to silence the truth. It all ends today. You planned this. Davis pointed a trembling finger at Vance. You and your Trump-loving conspirators set me up. No, Your Honor. Vance shook his head. You set yourself up. We simply gave you enough rope to hang yourself. Your own words and actions today have confirmed everything we already knew. As FBI agents approached the bench, Davis made one final desperate attempt to maintain control. I am a federal judge. You can't arrest me. I am the law. I am the law. The agents had to physically restrain Davis as he lunged toward his chambers. You don't understand, he screamed. They made me do it. The foundation, they have dirt on everyone. If I talk now. That's interesting, the lead FBI agent said, his interest piqued. Tell us more about this foundation, Your Honor. But Davis had finally caught himself, realizing how much he had revealed in his panic. His face twisted into a sneer despite his trembling hands. I want my lawyer. And when this is over, you'll all pay for this humiliation. Speaking of payment, Vance stepped forward, producing another document. Perhaps you'd like to explain these transfer records? 7 judges all receiving similar payments on the same days you did, all ruling against conservative defendants in coordinated cases. The gallery erupted in shocked whispers. This wasn't just about one corrupt judge, it was an entire network. The evidence suggests, Vance continued, his voice carrying across the now silent courtroom, that this was a systematic effort to use the judicial system as a political weapon. But justice isn't meant to be a weapon, Your Honor, it's meant to be a shield protecting all Americans equally. Davis had stopped struggling against the agents, his face a mask of defeat as the full scope of his exposure became clear. Behind him, court officers were already sealing his chambers for investigation. His clerk was being questioned by FBI agents, tears streaming down her face as she admitted to being forced to destroy evidence under threats from the judge. Davis's final walk of shame out of his own courtroom became a powerful symbol of justice being served. But as the agents led him away in handcuffs, he turned one last time to face JD Vance. You think this changes anything? He spat bitterly. There will always be others like me. You can't stop us all. You're right about one thing, Vance replied quietly. There will always be those who abuse power. But there will also always be those who stand up against them. That's what makes our justice system work, not the corruption you represent, but the courage of those who fight against it. The aftermath was swift and far-reaching. Davis's arrest triggered a wave of investigations across multiple jurisdictions. The network of corrupt judges began to crumble as evidence mounted and witnesses came forward. But perhaps the most powerful moment came when Sterling's case was dismissed. The new judge, reviewing the evidence Davis had tried so desperately to suppress, found no basis for the charges. Because at the end of the day, justice isn't decided by those who seek to control it, but by those willing to defend it. If you believe in standing up for truth and accountability, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more inspiring stories. God bless you, and God bless America.